It's a great day in Dalton. Justice is being
lock and key before.
This was under lock and key.
And now she's out in the open.
The last month, the board approved a proposal calling for a federal inquiry into the mayor following an emergency meeting. It's a beautiful day in town where justice is being served, and Alan Thornton, the town's elected assessor for the past 10 years, has seen it all, from helping locals with property tax exemptions to managing appeals. But something unusual happened this morning when she arrived at work. Not only was she locked out of her office, but she also found boxes containing confidential information strewn across the common area. Information that was once securely locked away in recent weeks. Shocking news has emerged about Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton. She was detained by the FBI under suspicion of misusing town funds. Authorities claim that Henyard has plunged the town into unthinkable debt, and the investigation into her actions has grown more alarming by the day. After executing a search warrant at her home, federal agents uncovered a treasure trove of shocking evidence. You may recall stories of Henyard's lavish lifestyle, including luxury vacations and extravagant shopping sprees, funded by questionable wire transfers. The authorities have now uncovered even more, with safes filled with hidden assets and more questionable behavior. This is no average small-town controversy. Evidence is mounting against Henyard, raising serious concerns about the extent of her misconduct and how long it has been going on. Henyard's actions have devastated Dalton's finances, leaving the town teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Meanwhile, she lived the high life, reminiscent of a Kardashian, with designer purses, international travel, and a lavish security detail, all funded by the hard-working taxpayers of Dalton. While residents struggled to make ends meet, Henyard appeared to have no such concerns. Enjoying a lifestyle far removed from the financial struggles of the town, she was meant to be serving the FBI as enough evidence to bring criminal charges against Henyard. As the investigation into her corrupt actions deepens, the central question remains: how much more deception lies beneath her extravagant lifestyle? Will she be able to deny the mounting evidence, or is her time as mayor nearing its end? One thing is certain: the drama is far from over. Dalton residents are demanding answers, and they will soon get them as the investigation progresses. The FBI is closely monitoring Henyard, and while the full extent of her actions is still unclear, more revelations are beginning to surface. With each new discovery, the scandal grows, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to deny the truth. Stay tuned for updates, as the story is only getting started.
Have trust issues, refusing to second a motion by Tiffany Henyard to get routine township bills paid.
I motion that we pay the bills for the general fund. Is there a second? It's been motion.
I was following it as well, but now Keith Freeman is cooperating, doing what he should have been done in the first place.
Cooperating with trustees.
With the trustees, absolutely. Doing it.
Tiffany Henyard, Dalton's most infamous mayor, has undergone a dramatic transformation over the past few months. Once a constant source of controversy, she has seemingly vanished from the public eye, creating an air of mystery around her sudden disappearance. Despite what appeared to be an inevitable downfall, her silence has only fueled rumors that she is attempting to evade the growing scrutiny catching up with her. Speculation is rampant that she has pulled a Houdini, disappearing from the limelight to cover her tracks. But the real question is, how long can she stay hidden before the authorities, especially the FBI? Clothes and the spectacle of her political unraveling has become almost impossible to ignore. Many are watching her downfall unfold like a high-stakes drama, popcorn in hand, eager to see what happens next. The community, exhausted by Henyard's antics, is asking, is she running from accountability, or is she simply retreating to regroup, hoping to escape the heat? One thing is certain: the final showdown is coming, and both the public and the authorities are ready to see it play out. For years, Henyard operated with an air of unchecked authority, dismissing opposing viewpoints and frequently ignoring the concerns of the very people who elected her. Her leadership style alienated not only the citizens of Dalton, but also former political allies. As her power began to wane, a turning point came during a town meeting, a meeting meant to reinforce her authority. But the outcome was far from what she anticipated. Not a single member of the Board of Trustees showed up. The empty seats were more than just symbolic. They sent a powerful message of defiance. It was clear Henyard's rule was no longer recognized, and her grip on Dalton was slipping faster than she ever imagined when the Board of Trustees decided to stop following her directives, effectively giving Henyard a taste of her own medicine It was undeniable that her political career was crumbling. The board, once her strongest foundation, had now become a source of active resistance. The shift was sharp and immediate, starkly contrasting with the iron-fisted control Henyard once wielded. Tensions continued to rise, and her credibility and leadership were left in tatters. The people of Dalton, once hopeful for her administration, began to question whether she could salvage anything from this relentless collapse. Henyard, once seen as a promising leader, is now viewed by many as someone who prioritized personal power over public service. The mounting impatience from Dalton's citizens is palpable. For years, Henyard enjoyed political dominance, but now that dominance has become a liability. The Board of Trustees, once a key ally, has distanced itself completely from her, publicly displaying its disapproval and further exposing the cracks in her leadership. What was once a political powerhouse now appears to be on its last legs. The question remains, will Henyard attempt a desperate political comeback, or is this the inevitable end of her tenure? She is no longer shielded by blind loyalty or institutional backing, facing opposition not only from within her administration, but also from the citizens she once led. Henyard's political future seems uncertain at best. The authority she once enjoyed without question has become a liability, and the pressure continues to mount. The once unquestioned leader now faces an unprecedented level of resistance, both from her own board and the people who once supported her as the drama unfolds. It's clear that Henyard's credibility and leadership are in irreversible decline. The cracks in her once solid foundation continue to widen. The people of Dalton have reached their breaking point. They are tired of scandal-ridden leadership and are demanding the long-overdue accountability that Henyard has failed to deliver. While she may still believe she can control the narrative, the overwhelming evidence suggests that she is running out of both time and options. The people of Dalton are ready to turn the page on her leadership once and for all, and it seems that Henyard's grip on power is slipping beyond repair.
Supervisor Tiffany Henyard wanted the Board of Trustees to approve some events that she wants the township to pay for, but none of the trustees showed up for this.
Despite the absence of the Board of Trustees, Tiffany Henyard, never one to shy away from rejection, boldly took the podium. She turned the situation into her personal drama, making it clear that she was not intimidated by the lack of support. Henyard, seemingly unfazed by the silent protest, publicly declared that the entire corruption scandal was part of a large-scale propaganda campaign designed to discredit her so-called magnificent administration. According to her, the hostility surrounding her was nothing more than a tactic to undermine her extraordinary leadership. Your super mayor became too powerful, too quickly, she proclaimed, because of my rarity and uniqueness. Everyone has their issues, but it's all about control, she said with unusual confidence. This is me making my statement. If you guys do not wish to listen to this, there's the door, she added defiantly, but the residents of Dalton had heard enough. Growing tired of her theatrics, they interrupted Henyard bluntly, saying, "We already know you're stealing from us." Despite this accusation, Henyard, who had always been skilled at defending herself, remained unfazed. She continued speaking as if nothing had happened, showing little concern for the mounting frustration in the room. However, the evidence against her was becoming impossible to ignore. According to credit card records obtained by Dalton detectives, Henyard and her team had racked up an astounding $67,000 in travel expenses on Thornton Township's tab in just 5 months. Even more troubling was the revelation that when the charges made to Dalton residents were factored in, the total swelled to nearly $100,000. People were beginning to grow deeply suspicious of Henyard's handling of government funds. Henyard, however, tried to justify the extravagant spending. She explained that her attendance at various conferences was essential for her role, and claimed that she and her group had been absorbed in these events, making it a necessity to spend the money. Meanwhile, Dalton's finances were being squandered carelessly under her watch. To make matters worse, Henyard and her administration had been ignoring public requests for records for months, blatantly disregarding state transparency laws. Even after the Illinois Attorney General's office, led by Kwame Rowe, urged the community to make the documents public, Henyard refused to comply. Her lack of transparency led to legal action. The parent firm of Gillies filed a lawsuit in C County Circuit Court over the withheld materials, and the judge, while critical of Henyard's actions, sided with the plaintiffs. Despite the mounting legal pressure and the damning evidence, Henyard's supporters were determined to keep her actions a secret. This was no longer just about financial mismanagement. It was a question of trust and accountability. The situation only worsened when former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who had been recruited by the village board to examine Henyard's financial management, revealed startling findings. Lightfoot disclosed that she had never been given the financial statements, and it was the trustees who were responsible for regularly picking them up. The public outrage was immediate, and even those who had known about Henyard's financial misconduct were now being forced to confront the truth. The situation reached a breaking point in April 2022 when Dalton's credit card spending spiraled out of control, leading to significant debt. In response, the village board passed a resolution calling for a federal probe into Henyard's actions. Four of the 6 trustees, disillusioned and frustrated by her leadership, attended the meeting, signaling a clear shift in the political landscape. By May 2024, Dalton's finances had taken a serious blow. The general balance had plummeted from a healthy $5.6 million to a deficit of $3.65 million. The town was now facing severe financial turmoil. Thanks to Henyard's disregard for proper financial checks and balances, the Board of Trustees, no longer willing to support Henyard, demanded clarification on the nature of all the questionable expenses. They expressed their frustration with the apparent mismanagement, recognizing the need for accountability if they were ever to move forward. It was clear that Henyard's power was waning, and her influence was quickly diminishing. Her once sturdy political foundation was crumbling, and her ability to control the narrative was no longer as certain as it once had been as Henyard's inner circle began to disintegrate, with one of her senior aides accused of conspiring with her enemies. The investigation into her actions gained momentum. Her decisions continued to raise red flags, including the loss of 6 police cars, an issue that had serious consequences, particularly with the loss of valuable police personnel. Henyard's choices regarding security payments also came under scrutiny, with her use of public funds for personal expenditures further exposing her financial irresponsibility. The village credit card, intended for legal purposes, had been used for a wide range of personal purchases, including items from Walgreens, Wayfair, Target, and Amazon. Additionally, it was claimed that Henyard had used Dalton's funds to rent luxury items for personal use under increasing pressure. Henyard attempted to stay out of the public eye, but the FBI's investigation into her financial mismanagement only intensified. The agency uncovered substantial evidence of Henyard's financial difficulties, and soon it was revealed that the FBI had requested personnel and disciplinary records for 29 Dalton employees. They were also seeking any contracts or payments made to Henyard's assistant, Keith Freeman, who also worked for Thornton Township in a similar capacity. This discovery came after a raid on Henyard's home, where investigators uncovered a detailed list of her alleged corrupt actions. As the investigation deepens, the truth about Henyard's dishonesty is beginning to emerge. The people of Dalton are growing increasingly impatient with her attempts to hide behind a veil of secrecy. The FBI is closing in, and Henyard is running out of options. The consequences of her actions are mounting, and it seems that her time in power is nearing an end.
To Mayor Tiffany Henyard is cooperating with her opponents, and the mayor has now been stripped of at least some power in the form of access to.
Following the death of longtime overseer Frank Selly, Dalton's financial landscape took a sharp turn for the worse when Tiffany Henyard was elected as the town's youngest and first female mayor in 2022. Not only did she take on the mayoral role, but she also assumed the position of Thornton Township supervisor. However, things soon began to unravel. A January investigation by the Government Oversight Investigations Journal, GOI, into Henyard's spending patterns revealed a troubling trend of financial mismanagement. Within just 5 months of 2023, Henyard and her team charged over $7,000 to township credit cards for out-of-town vacations. The allegations against her included the misappropriation of public funds for personal use, such as paying for her hairstylist, lavish vacations, and personal security. Henyard's trips to popular destinations like New York, Atlanta, and Portland were funded by the village taxpayers, with a particularly extravagant trip to Austin, Texas, costing the public an additional $33,900. The charges included $169 at the Fairmont Austin Hotel and an eye-popping $222,000 in public funds spent on a 5-day trip, which covered expensive meals, including $389 for steaks at Roots, $43 at Walgreens, and $53 for Riders Apparel. Additionally, credit card transactions revealed that Amazon, Walmart, and Target were used to rack up $247 in charges despite the mounting evidence. Henyard continued to defend herself, claiming that the spending was justified. However, she struggled to provide credible explanations for exorbitant expenses, including a $5,997 payment for a public photographer, $74,000 in other undisclosed charges, and payments for her personal expenses. The community, left in disbelief, began to question not only her financial decisions, but her values and leadership abilities. It was clear that Henyard was living a lavish lifestyle funded by taxpayer money, and many residents were becoming increasingly concerned about the financial hole she was digging for Dalton. As the controversy continued to grow, Henyard's behavior became even more erratic. Rumors circulated that she had gone into hiding, possibly trying to escape the increasing scrutiny. Others believed that she was doubling down on her actions, continuing to refuse responsibility for any of her questionable decisions. Local figure Jason House, who has been vocal about the situation, stated that Henyard's leadership was pushing Dalton into a financial crisis. He argued that she had been taking the village's employees on extravagant vacations, which only exacerbated the town's mounting debt. "She raised our taxes and still took us on lavish vacations," House said. "If you claim to have good business sense, you should take a serious look at the budget again. You work for the government, and you're here to serve us, not indulge yourself." Many businesses in Dalton have also been negatively impacted by Henyard's leadership, including Lawrence Gardner's trucking company, which has been out of operation since January 2023. Gardner was accused of selling alcohol without a license, a charge he has denied. He believes the accusations were politically motivated, and a judge has agreed with him, dismissing the charges. Gardner also revealed that several business owners, including himself, were pressured to donate $3,500 to the village shortly after Henyard took office. He sees this as another example of corruption and coercion under her leadership. As more individuals distance themselves from her administration and lose faith in her leadership, Dalton's local businesses are suffering. The situation has become even more concerning due to Henyard's increasingly unpredictable decision-making, which has left even her closest friends and family worried. Despite growing public outcry, she has shown little willingness to take responsibility for her actions. The public, frustrated with her lack of accountability, demonstrated their dissatisfaction during a recent Take Our Township Back event, calling for Henyard's resignation and a thorough investigation into her extravagant expenditures. The march was a powerful statement of defiance, driven by the belief that the town's finances were being mishandled and that transparency was sorely lacking. Henyard's attempts to control the budget by making herself the sole authority to approve expenses have only fueled the fire of discontent. She continues to contest the accusations, claiming that she has the documentation to prove that all of her actions were legitimate. But even as she clings to this narrative, it's becoming increasingly clear that her leadership is crumbling. Observers have noted her refusal to own up to her mistakes, which has only further alienated the public and those who were once loyal to her. As the investigation continues, the pressure is mounting, and Henyard's hold on power is weakening. Local residents are calling for a full review of the budget and demanding that the public's interests be prioritized. Many are now questioning whether she can weather the storm or if her political career will collapse under the weight of these revelations. The drama surrounding Henyard's leadership is far from over, and it seems that her actions will not go unpunished. The people of Dalton are fed up, and the increasing public outcry is impossible to ignore. With her extravagant lifestyle now fully exposed and her leadership in tatters, Henyard faces a crisis that could mark the end of her political career. The situation is spiraling out of control, and it's clear that her reckless spending and refusal to take responsibility for her actions have pushed the town to its breaking point. The people of Dalton are demanding accountability, and it remains to be seen whether Henyard can salvage her reputation or whether this will be the final chapter of her time in power.
Homeless behind her raising our taxes. And you said that you have good business skills, then you should take a look at the budget again.
You are a public servant. You serve us.
Jason felt the need and announced his candidacy for the upcoming selection of Dalton's mayor in 2025.
Today, I'm here to proudly announce my candidacy for mayor of Dalton in February.
Although the specific allegations against Tiffany Henyard are not entirely new, each new charge she faces seems to fuel the flames of public mistrust in her leadership, further deepening the skepticism surrounding her. One thing remains clear. Despite the mounting criticism, Henyard appears to have no grasp of the concept of accountability. Rather than taking responsibility for her actions and owning up to her mistakes, her continuous carelessness and disregard for her position have only harmed her already tarnished reputation. In March 2024, after being accused of embezzling $70,000 in public funds for lavish travel, the Dalton board officially launched an investigation into Henyard's activities. The investigation involved a detailed review of the village's financial records, with the FBI being called in to provide further clarity. During a board meeting, Henyard even accused the Dalton board of being a boys' club, rejecting the investigation as a personal attack and part of a biased narrative that, in her view, was impeding her progress out of spite it's regrettable that people may attend the meeting and only provide one side of the story. Without hearing both sides of the issue, Henyard remarked during the meeting, "As you can see, our village and community are being targeted." While Henyard acknowledged a $2 million deficit in Village Hall, other board members later revealed that the true deficit was far larger than the number she had claimed. This was just one of the many missteps that had made Henyard's leadership increasingly controversial. In addition to financial mismanagement, Henyard has faced accusations of using her authority to punish and silence her opponents. Former trustee Edward Steve pointed out that instead of blaming others, Henyard should look inward at the situation she had created. Matters grew even more heated when a former assistant came forward with claims of predatory behavior within Henyard's administration. It was revealed that a board trustee had allegedly harassed the assistant, but Henyard dismissed the claims, stating that publicizing the incident could ruin her career. Valerie Stubbs, a former village trustee, claimed that Henyard had purposefully aligned herself with the police department to ensure that any accusations against her would be ignored. Stubbs even alleged that Henyard sent hitmen to target and shoot two of her renters' automobiles, using police officers to intimidate residents who opposed her. As federal scrutiny intensified, Henyard found herself under mounting pressure from all sides. Her promises of support proved to be hollow, and she was soon placed on unpaid medical leave, with many of her closest allies abandoning her. One of Henyard's former assistants, Carvin Carlisle, has now come forward as a whistleblower, publicly denouncing Henyard's actions. Today, I'm speaking out against Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton and the supervisor of Thornton Township, who I believe has acted unethically and predatory during her tenure, Carlisle stated. According to Carlisle, Henyard used her position to manipulate residents, merchants, and staff over the course of 2 years. She continued to expand her influence while presenting an image of prosperity made possible by the hard-working taxpayers of Dalton and Thornton Township. However, Carlisle believes there are many other victims who have been subjected to deceit or fired by Henyard, but have yet to come forward. I trusted the administration. So I'm speaking up now for myself and others who have been impacted by what I believe to be Henyard's abusive leadership, Carlisle added. Her commitment to justice and transparency drove her to become a whistleblower. Carlisle urged the public to demand better treatment and accountability from local leadership. It's time for us to unite and bring those who abuse their authority to justice. In response to Carlisle's accusations, Henyard ridiculed her newfound confidence, even joking, "I think I'm going to get you a new nickname, Lion." However, even with the grave nature of the accusations, Henyard remained defiant, telling Carlisle, "I'm tired of everyone in here. There's always a show with her own activities." Henyard's refusal to address the growing body of evidence only added fuel to the fire. Her increasingly erratic behavior has led her to become the very embodiment of the corruption she once denounced, and now she stands at the center of a scandal that grows more intense by the day as the investigation into Henyard's activities gains momentum. Tension continues to rise. Henyard has tried to deflect blame, claiming that Carlisle, the whistleblower, should have raised the issue sooner. "You ought to have been making the same effort when you were silent a year ago, but we never talked about it," Henyard asserted, pointing the finger back at Carlisle. Despite the mounting evidence against her, Henyard has continued to maintain her innocence. Even as the number of victims and whistleblowers continues to grow, one thing is clear. The drama surrounding Henyard's leadership is far from over. Even though she can no longer ignore the swirl of gossip and public outcry surrounding her actions, Henyard has yet to face the consequences of her deeds. The investigation continues to unfold, and the pressure on Henyard only increases with each passing day. It remains to be seen whether she will ultimately be held accountable for her actions, or she will somehow escape the repercussions that appear to be catching up to her for now. The people of Dalton continue to wait, hoping that justice will prevail. The situation has reached a boiling point, and Henyard's once unquestioned authority has been severely eroded. As the inquiry into her leadership continues, many are left wondering whether this marks the end of her political career or if she will manage to survive yet another scandal. Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The people of Dalton are demanding answers, and they are no longer willing to turn a blind eye to the actions of their embattled mayor. Stay tuned for more coverage on this developing story. And don't forget to like and subscribe for the latest updates. Will Tiffany Henyard finally face the consequences of her actions, or will she continue to evade accountability? The drama is far from over, and it's clear that the fight for transparency and justice is just beginning.